Hey yo, everybody.
Hey yo!
Hey yo!
Hey yo!
Hi ho! This is Attorney Colin McCallin, and I am alongside my partner Russell Hebets, and this is another episode of Is This Legal? So welcome back to our listening friends, to our viewing friends, to all of you. Man, I don't know about you. We're recording this the day after that amazing Olympics and that amazing gold medal match that the U.S. captured. I'm feeling extra patriotic today, Russ.
Couple of good gold medal matches.
Yeah, absolutely.
U.S. Do you know the final medal count? U.S. came in second.
Yeah, Norway. I
Norway.
believe, had number one. Norway had the most medals of anybody else, and yeah, USA did pretty darn good.
It's because they have so much darn snow up there in the Great White North.
Yep, that's right. So congrats to all of those Olympic athletes, and in particular the men and women U.S. hockey team. Boy, those were some great games.
Those were exciting.
So, but let's, you guys can turn into ESPN for that kind of nonsense. I know you're here for some true crime, and that's what we are going to deliver. And I would say we're going to talk about the type of case that we don't normally talk about. First of all, we're going to be talking about a case that has already happened, a case that was just litigated. This is an international case, Russ. We are talking about a gentleman by the name of Thomas P., and that's all we know about him because he committed a crime in Austria, allegedly, I should say, and they don't publish information about defendants' information like the pretrial shaming that we do here in America.
Right, although everyone in Austria, this got a lot of media attention in Austria, and I think a lot of people know about this and knew about it. And I mean, you said allegedly, but he's convicted.
Yeah, he is convicted.
So this just happened last week.
Yeah, but essentially we're going to be talking about a death of this man's girlfriend, which a Austrian court found this man to be negligent for with regard to the expedition of a mountain. They were climbing a mountain called Grossglockner mountain in Austria. It's very, very famous, very, very high mountain in the Swiss Alps.
Austrian Alps.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be talking about the facts of this case, and then Russ and I are going to get right into the nitty gritty. We're going to get in those nooks and crannies. We're going to talk about all that legal stuff that I guess sealed this guy's fate. I mean, because he was convicted, and we're going to talk about whether or not we agree with this verdict.
Right, and this was a criminal conviction, so we said negligence, and we'll get into kind of the legal standard in Austria, but this was a criminal conviction where he was facing prison time.
That's right.
Or significant jail time at least. So let's talk about what actually happened.
Yeah, let's Russ, why don't we set the table? Okay, I've got the napkins. I'll grab the silverware. Maybe
I'm gonna grab the leg of lamb.
Oh, okay. Now, do we do we want the fine china for tonight, or just the bare bones plastic? What are we doing?
I mean, if we're setting the table, let's set the table.
All right.
So I don't want any chinette out there.
So lay it out for us, Russ. Who are these parties? When did this happen?
Yeah, so this happened back a little over a year ago, so January 18th, 2025. So as Colin said, this is Thomas P. and his girlfriend, Kirsten G. They set out together to climb the Grossglockner mountain. This is a 12,460-foot peak in Austria, outside of Interlaken.
And no one knows how many meters that is.
Yeah, I mean, I did not write that down.
No.
It was, some Europeans know. Actually,
I don't think they do.
Everyone but Americans know how many meters it is. So they are going to go climb this mountain. They start the climb at 6:45 a.m. They start hiking up this peak, and this is a difficult ascent, and this is in the winter. Okay, so that makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, this isn't a 2-hour hike in the summer, right? Where you can bring shorts and maybe a rain jacket.
Yeah, this is a serious climb.
Yeah.
But, we'll talk about their respective levels of experience, but they both had some experience as mountaineers.
Yeah. I did some amateur hour research on this mountain, and apparently it's rated a 5 out of 6 stars in terms of mountaineering difficulty.
Okay.
That's what I saw. And the stuff I saw is you definitely want a guide. This is not an easy climb, and you should know what you're doing.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, they're starting at 6:45. They get going at 1:30. they reached a key turnaround point. So this is a spot where, like, the guides, the trail maps all say, if you're going to turn around here or before.
Nothing good beyond this point.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, exactly. Beware those who continue.
Right.
Right. So at 9 p.m.
What is the
up on the door, abandon hope, all
Oh,
ye
the
who
answer.
enter
Thank you.
here.
You knew exactly what I was thinking. Dante's Inferno. Abandon hope, all ye who enter here.
So, we can only assume that was etched on a stone right next to this at the 1:30 p.m. turnaround point.
Continue.
So they gave up hope, but they kept going. So at 9 p.m., their torches can be seen on webcams as they climb up in the dark, because now night has fallen, and you have people who are literally watching. They can see, oh, there's two idiots, two brave mountaineers. I don't know what they're thinking at the point, but they're still climbing at 9 p.m.
If I may interject, one of the reasons this mountain is so famous is because the view from the top is apparently amazing, and you can see like 150 miles out beyond the horizon. I mention that because the webcam that you're talking about actually faces the mountain, and you can see climbers clearly. You can actually see their headlights, and you could actually see these guys climbing in real time at night.
Yeah.
So that's how clear it is from the base area, and so people knew that these people were up there.
Right. And so that means, the authorities, the local community, the mountain rescue, they knew. And so at 10:30 p.m., a police helicopter flies overhead, and it's basically checking them out. And the police helicopter did not receive any distress signals or any attempts to communicate. So they were basically up there saying, hey, it's late. How are you guys doing? And no attempts to communicate with this helicopter. At 12:35 a.m., Mr. P, Thomas,
Right.
he calls the Alpine police saying, hey, we're both exhausted, we're moving very slowly. Now, at this point, I saw a couple different things. A police officer did testify at this trial and said that Thomas told him on this call they were fine, they didn't need help. I saw somewhere else where he said we may need help soon. So I'm not sure about that difference, but in any case, it at least was not explicit that,
Right.
hey, he didn't say, come save us, okay?
Exactly.
Even though it's 12:35 a.m. and they're not even to the top yet. At 2 a.m., this is when the key event happened. This is when Thomas leaves Kirsten. They were almost to the summit, but not quite. He leaves her to go get help. She was apparently exhausted, could not move on. He climbed over the summit, because at this point, going back down is not an option.
Right.
Once you hit that point,
Right.
you have to
Oh,
just
abandon
continue
hope.
over.
All you
right.
want.
Right.
It says it right there on
That's
the sign.
it. You're not coming back. It's a one-way gate right there. So he continues over the top. He gets to a refuge and communications point and contacts authorities and tells them, hey, here's what kind of serious trouble we're in. Now, there's a couple points. Well, at 3:30 a.m., he calls police again and says, yep, I was forced to leave him. At 10 a.m. is when rescuers were finally able to go access Kirsten. By that time, she was on an exposed rock face overnight at freezing temperatures, and she had already passed away from hypothermia.
It looked like, too, some of the testimony indicated that she might have fallen from where she was originally abandoned.
Yeah.
If you choose to use that word.
Right.
But so, yeah, essentially, though, that brings us to this trial. Kind of the Austrian government decided, you know what, this is criminal. They decided that Thomas P. should be charged essentially for his actions that contributed to the death of Kirsten P. or Kirsten G., his girlfriend. We'll just say Kirsten.
Yeah, and they did, I don't think they came to this decision just really on the spur of the moment. They took a lot of time to investigate it. They had experts weighing in on, what the standard of care was, what he did or didn't do properly. But ultimately, as you said, they came to the decision to criminally prosecute him, despite everyone agreeing that he didn't want her to die, that he was trying to go get help. And the authorities said, well, you know what? we're going to go ahead and charge you anyway.
And just to be crystal clear on this so that everybody knows what we're talking about, we're not talking about like a wrongful death lawsuit.
Right.
We're not talking about kind of something that would fall under a tort or personal injury. We're talking about a crime. We're talking about the government saying you committed a crime, which of course affects your liberty. Russ, for this particular crime, let's talk about the possible penalties that he was facing. We'll get into what he got later, but what kind of teeth does this charge have?
Yeah, so it's a decent charge. Like, it's not quite murder, right? It's the equivalent in the U.S. of like criminally negligent manslaughter.
Yeah.
And it carries a maximum, how they charged it, carries a maximum of 3 years in jail.
Okay.
So it's something. It has some teeth.
Right.
So that's the maximum. Now, this, unlike here, where if you're facing something where you're looking at potentially 3 years in jail, or really in the U.S., any time in jail, you get absolutely constitutionally a right to a jury trial. You get to be tried by a jury of your peers.
It's right there in the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution.
So, Colin, do they have those same protections in Austria?
No, they don't, Russ. So they do have trial by jury. It's a European country, but they don't give you a jury unless you're charged with something like really serious, for example, murder. Apparently, criminally negligent homicide only gets you a judge. So this is a court trial or a judge who basically makes all of the decisions regarding the admissibility of evidence, but also decides whether or not the offender is guilty, and then that person imposes sentence as well.
Yeah, so the judge
Judge,
takes,
jury, and executioner,
right,
basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Without the executioner.
Right.
In this case.
He's not looking, it's not a capital
Look
crime.
out.
Yeah, so exactly. The judge takes the role of the jury, and the judge decides everything. In a trial, if this were in trial in the United States, in anywhere in the United States, I would expect this trial to last at least a week.
Yeah, unless, of course, we're talking about California, in which case it would take 3 years.
Right.
But anywhere else, I would agree. Probably a week, maybe 2 weeks at the most, depending
Right.
on whether or not there was a lot of expert testimony.
Right. This case, not so much.
Yeah. In Austria, we believe in, hey, we're all here. Let's just get this thing done. They got this thing done, this trial, start to finish, in 1 day. Russ.
Yeah, I think the judge's name was Hendrik Spiediken. pretty sure he was not messing around. He's like, let's roll, we're doing it, and the trial was done in 1 day.
Yeah, it's like there are highways out there. Look, we don't have speed limits. We're going as fast as we can, and we're getting this thing done. So yeah, Judge Spiedekens got a hold of this thing, and they got busy. So Russ, I think this is the way we should talk about this. Let's talk about, because they do have a prosecutor, and this guy had a defense attorney.
Right.
So it's in that way, it's very much like our system of justice, where this guy did have a chance to defend himself. He had a right to testify, things like that. Russ, why don't we start with what the prosecution is saying in terms of, hey, this guy committed a crime and needs to be held responsible. What facts are they pointing to that make this a problem for Thomas?
Yeah, the kind of key overarching theory of the prosecution that kind of affects all of their specific arguments is that they're arguing that Thomas was the de facto leader of the expedition. And they almost increased the standard. They almost held him to a level of like professional expedition guide.
Yeah.
Right? They said he is the person who has more experience. He was the leader of this. And because of that, he has a higher standard.
Yeah. We'll talk later about problems with that, but
Right.
that's definitely what they're saying.
And so they went through and they ticked off, they basically argued 9 different things that they think Thomas did wrong. So first, they said Kirsten shouldn't even been there in the first place.
This was way too serious of a climb for her.
Yep, she didn't have the experience. She shouldn't have even been on this hike.
Okay.
Second, started the climb too late. Now, we can sit there and say, hey, 6:45 a.m., that sounds like a really early start. But I mean, I will tell you, from climbs that I've done, like I've climbed.
We're here in Colorado. We've done 14ers.
We've done
things
14ers,
like that, which
so
are
14,000 foot peak, so
Yeah.
higher than this. Now, granted, this is in the summer, but you want to climb a 14er in Colorado, you're going to want to get up sometimes before sunrise.
Oh yeah, it's like 3, 4 in the morning sometimes. And the idea is you don't want to be stranded for those afternoon thunderstorms that are daily up in the mountains.
Right.
You have to kind of know the territory.
So maybe it seems early, but prosecution said that was about 2 hours too late. They should have started by 4:45.
Exactly.
Okay. Third one, they were not carrying the proper emergency bivouac equipment. So they basically didn't have equipment for a forced overnight stay.
Right.
Now we'll talk later because they did have some equipment. They did have, in fact, some bivouac equipment. Now, nothing to give shelter, not a little tent.
In terms of bivouac, we're talking about like sleeping bag. We're talking about tent stuff, some shelter from the elements.
Like a really bare bones tent.
Okay.
Is really what we're talking about. So shelter from the element, exactly. Okay. So a bag, which they did have, but some sort of little shelter.
Okay.
Right? And they weren't carrying enough of that. They said, number 4, he allowed her, again, this is him saying he's the guide and he has carte blanche to tell her what to do, but saying she wasn't wearing the correct footwear. She was apparently wearing splitboard or snowboarding boots. Okay. So these are boots that, they do protect you from the snow, but they're not super grippy. They're not mountaineering boots, right? You would never choose, I would never choose to climb a mountain in snowboarding boots. Okay. Number 5, they didn't turn back despite worsening conditions. Mm-hmm. And here we're talking about wind and we're talking about cold. Like it was getting dicey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Middle of the night.
He failed to call before dark. Mm-hmm. So even before night fell, he failed to call. He ignored opportunities to signal the rescue teams. So here we're talking about the helicopter. It's interesting. So helicopters above, they don't signal. Now, the prosecution, Colin,
Go ahead.
The prosecution went and did an analysis of both of their watches because they both had sports watches that was tracking their data as, while they went.
Sure.
And they went and looked at it and said, you know what? Their conditions had already begun deteriorating significantly based on that watch data by the time the helicopter was overhead.
Interesting. And just to remind everybody, a lot of eyes are on these people. There literally was a helicopter overhead checking for these folks, making sure that they were okay.
Right.
And again, they're saying, the government is in Austria, that this guy had an opportunity to say things are not okay, we need immediate help, or maybe, hey, stick around here because we might be calling you soon. None of those things ever happened. But again, we have webcam below and we have literal, an eye in the sky with the helicopter.
And I will tell you, as someone, and maybe you feel the same, who has climbed some mountains before, for me, I've always been fine, but you can easily see where if you are hiking for a long time, you're already getting exhausted, it's high altitude, you maybe aren't thinking clearly.
Onset comes very quick.
Yes.
And again, like speaking here in Colorado where we have altitude, you're literally getting less oxygen the higher you go.
Right.
Which makes everything harder. And the onset of that fatigue can be very, very sudden. It's not like you're going, you're like, oh man, this all of a sudden got a little hard. It's all like 1 minute you're good, the next minute, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can take another step.
And it's not just that physical onset, it can be mental too.
Sure.
Like you can start just getting foggy. You can start not making good decisions.
Throw in weather,
right. So you hear about this all the time. So regardless, that's what prosecution says, hey, he should have known things were deteriorating. He didn't signal them. Number 8 is he became unreachable at some point where the rescuers, the Alpine police were trying to call him, and he apparently had his phone
off.
Well, the prosecution said it was off. He said it was on silent, and he just didn't know it was. He didn't know people were trying to call him.
Got it.
But he wasn't checking his phone. And then last one, this is the one where we talked about them having some gear. He left her. He says he attached her with a sling to a rock so that she was stable. But in her pack that she had with her, she had an emergency blanket and she had a bivouac bag. Bivouac bag like a sleeping bag, essentially. He did not put her in the bag. He did not wrap her in the blanket.
Which arguably might have saved her life from the cold.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, for all of these things, they are basically saying this guy criminally failed in his duty to care for his girlfriend. That's and he should be criminally responsible for his behavior. So that's what they say, Russ. Now, this might be a great time to take a little bit of a break to play a little Is This Legal? And then on the other side, we'll get into the defense perspective and what they were arguing, and then we'll talk about the outcome of this case. How does that sound?
That sounds good to me.
Good.
I assume the defense seems to have some decent counterpoints to this.
I would think so.
Okay.
We certainly thought so.
I can't wait till the second half of this podcast.
Yeah, all right. Well, but I'm going to keep you waiting just a little bit longer.
All right.
All right. I'll stop. Bye.
Are you ready to play
Is This Legal?
We brought our, for anyone who's not watching, we brought our little friend Cromwell,
Yeah.
who is a...
Say hi to Cromwell, everybody.
Yeah, like maybe a 18th century magistrate.
Yeah, I guess you could say once in a while we like to put our heads together. Oh, boy. Okay, well, we'll save that for later. But yeah, this is our game show where we're going to have a little fun with you, the listener/viewer. This is where we are going to present to you a completely fictional legal hypothetical and ask you at the end, is this legal or not? Okay, so
Colin,
get
what
ready.
do you have cooked up for us today?
Man, I went to the store. I asked them what they had on special, and boy, they gave me the goods. So here's what we're cooking up tonight. Get ready. Jebediah has been living on his property for about 30 years. I don't know if we've ever gotten into that, but he's been there a long time.
Been there a while.
Maybe it was in the family or something like that. Probably. He doesn't seem like he can procure that on your own.
He's not that old.
Yeah, so he's been on the property for 30 years. He's lived there, and during that whole time, he's had the exact same neighbor living right next door to him. That neighbor's name, this is a new introduction, Russ, I believe.
New character.
New character, yes. So the neighbor's name, we're going to call him Cletus McRoadkill. And so, Jebediah and Mr. McRoadkill, they have a fence erected between their two properties, and that fence has been there, by the way, for the entire 30 years. Now, Cletus decides one day that he wants to do an addition to his house, and so that requires his property to get surveyed. And the surveyor comes out and does the survey and informs Cletus, hey, your fence between the two properties, that fence is encroaching your property line by 8 feet. In other words, Jebediah's property is essentially 8 feet beyond where it should be into Cletus's property. So, Cletus goes over to Jebediah's shack and informs him that the fence is improperly located within 8 feet of his property. And Cletus starts to get mad, saying, look, I really want my land back. And Jebediah smiles and says, too bad. It's actually my land.
Does he say, so sad, too bad? Too bad,
Yes,
so
he actually
sad?
says, too bad, so sad.
Yeah, okay.
That's what he says.
That's what I
He
thought.
probably said some other things, but this is a family show. Okay? And so, Cletus gets mad and sues Jebediah. Jebediah grabs his lawyer extraordinaire, Myrtle.
Yeah.
I think they're on again. And she assists him. And so the question is, who wins this lawsuit? Who is Cletus going to get his 8 feet of property, his 8-foot strip back? Or is there something else to happen? So what do you think about this?
I mean, depending on how long that 8-foot strip is, like that could be a lot of land.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's 8 feet by, and it's only a 1-foot section of fence.
Right. That'd be
not
one
much.
thing, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if Jebediah is like a huge
Quakers.
landowner and is a tycoon, and this is like $1 million property.
Yeah.
Who knows?
This could be big. This could be big.
So I don't know. I'll tell you, the immediate thing is it seems kind of unfair for Cletus. I mean, gosh, okay.
He didn't even know.
Yeah, he didn't even know. We know that from this fact pattern. So I don't know. This might be kind of an easy one. We'll see. What do you guys think at home?
Cromwell, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you think, Cromwell?
No, he's not giving up the goods yet.
Okay,
So
he wants to
Think
allow us to have the big reveal. Russ, I'll ask you. You ready for this, everybody? Who wins, Russ?
So in this case, our good friend Jebediah is a winner, can go get himself a chicken dinner.
What? It's his land?
It's now Jebediah's land. There is something called adverse possession.
Yes. So this is for all you law students out there, because we know that you're learning about adverse possession. It's the only time you're ever going to deal with adverse possession in your legal career, by the way.
This is it.
So we went right back to the law school tropes for this one. So here is what adverse possession essentially is. It allows you to essentially occupy land if certain, certain benchmarks are met regarding that land. So first of all, you have to have hostile possession of the land. So we'll talk about, we'll apply these as we go along to this situation. Hostile possession just means without permission.
Right.
So clearly, Jebediah had that 8-foot strip without Cletus's permission, because Cletus didn't even know about
Right.
it.
That's how you know didn't have permission.
Yeah. So hostility is met. 2, is the possession open and notorious, which means it's not hidden, anybody can see.
Offense is obvious.
Offense is obvious, so yes, no issue there. So far, we're 2 for 2. Jebediah has to have exclusive access to the land, not shared, meaning it can't be like a common area of land. That's not the situation here. Everybody thought that this was Jebediah's land.
Other side of a fence, and Jebediah had the only access to it.
The only final requirement to meet adverse possession is the possession has to be continuous. And we established that he had the land exclusively for 30 years. He never sold it, never gave it up, and took it back. So yes, we think that Jebediah actually wins this lawsuit. This is an old English common law theory, and it essentially means that after a certain amount of time, if you've claimed land and no one objects, it's your land.
And the rationale, it seems unfair, right?
Yeah, Cletus definitely gets screwed here.
Right. But the rationale for it is someone else is clearly making use of the land.
Yeah.
And for efficiency in society, you want people to be making use of it.
For 30 years, Cletus didn't even know that it was his land.
Right.
I mean, you kidding me? You want land you didn't even know about, Cletus?
Jebediah probably has like a secondary still out there, for like from like special reserve moonshine.
Oh
like,
yeah.
That's
That's where his good stuff is.
It's actually 4X's on the jugs for that.
Cletus is just mad because he doesn't get any.
Yeah.
Because Jebediah never invites him over.
Yep.
Because we've never heard about Cletus until today.
We never have.
So don't know if we ever will again. Probably though.
Good fences make good neighbors.
Robert Frost, baby. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. Anything else on this, Russ?
Nothing else. Hopefully you did well out there.
And if not, don't worry. Get us back next time.
Yep, you get another shot at it.
This was a tricky one. This is a hard one. So if you got this one, give yourself a gold star.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time back here on Is This Legal? Bye-bye.
Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you did a good job on Is This Legal? But we're going to jump back into the tragic death in Austria and the conviction of Thomas for the death of his girlfriend. And so before the break, we talked about what the prosecution was arguing. But, this is trial. Defense gets to make their arguments. So let's talk about what the defense said in the trial.
The defense is saying, give me a flippin' break.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You want to hold me responsible for the death of this girl who didn't have to go on this hike, who herself was underprepared, who herself said, hey, I'm ready for this, and it turns out she didn't? Russ, that's what they're saying,
That's
right?
essentially what they're saying. This was an accident.
Yeah.
This was not criminal negligence.
Yeah.
This was a tragic accident.
No one's to blame. This was awful. Right. This was a tragedy.
Sometimes there's
just
accidents.
like Romeo and Juliet. I mean, pick your
that,
tragedy.
But, right.
But completely unavoidable there, right?
Right. I feel like there were some off-ramps.
There were some off-ramps, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what they're saying. Like, they're clearly saying there was no intent to abandon her. He was trying to get help. And there was no criminal negligence. It was just an accident. And one thing you just touched on is they both had alpine experience.
Right.
And
this
that's
was not
true.
This was not like her maiden voyage
Right.
climbing a mountain, Russ.
Right.
I mean, she had pictures on social media, as did he, of both of them doing several climbs. And it's not like they're taking a 2-hour hike in the middle of the summer.
Right.
These are like adventurous things, the type of thing that I would never do.
And she was right, and she was allegedly in very good physical health.
According to her mom.
Well, her mom basically said, hey, she was a strong-willed woman, and she had significant alpine experience.
Right.
So this is her own mother who's backing Thomas up here.
Right.
So the next one that kind of rebuts the whole prosecution's overriding theory that he was this pseudo guide, the defense said, no, he wasn't. The planning and decisions were shared.
Yeah. She wanted to go. She was part of this. It's not like this is a guy dragging his girlfriend up a mountain.
Right.
No, like she was into it, and
they talked about it.
And she knew what she was getting into.
Well, and I'll tell you, I also saw when he testified, his testimony was, hey, I was planning to just lie down next to her on the side of the mountain, and she screamed at me, no, you leave right now. And he basically said, she saved my life.
Right.
Right? So he and the defense are portraying her as a very strong person who was a partner in this, not this little just lackey that was dragged along.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. Another thing they're pointing to, the defense is, Russ, is that the weather and circumstances completely change unexpectedly, which can happen in any sort of high alpine situation. Weather changes like that.
And it can be unforeseeable.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds like in this particular case, things change very quickly, very severely. His next thing, of course, is, hey, I did try and communicate. I did help. I did reach out when I could. I was in communication with people. And I thought I was doing everything correctly. You know, so Russ, what else?
Well, he says that he did, you know, as far as they were trying to contact him, like I said on the front side, you know, he just didn't realize they were trying to contact him. It's not like he shut his phone off.
Right.
It wasn't, he was intentionally trying to avoid contact.
Yeah.
He just didn't know they were trying to contact him. The worst one, and the one that the defense and he had the worst answer for, is the lack of use of that emergency equipment, right? Because as we said, that bivouac bag and the emergency blanket, we don't know, but potentially could have saved her life.
Right.
And he just didn't use it. And he didn't have a really good explanation for it.
They were just overwhelmed, essentially.
Yeah, they basically says things changed really rapidly. He tried to get help rather than wait in place. I mean, I think that it's likely what I talked about, where you're not thinking clearly and you're just not realizing that you have help right there, you know, which is so sad.
And it's very possible that he just didn't understand how serious her condition was.
Right.
I mean, he was obviously able to survive, but I don't know, maybe he just underestimated how bad along she was.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know if he thought she was going to. I don't think he thought she was going to keep going.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I think he knew she was in pretty dire circumstances, but maybe he thought help would get there. You know, and the reason why we didn't talk about this, the reason why help couldn't get there, is because of the winds and the temperature.
Right.
Like
it made helicopter rescue impossible.
Exactly. Like it would have potentially been possible to do a nighttime helicopter rescue, but not in those conditions.
Right.
You know, so I mean, it was the perfect storm in a terrible way, right?
So, what are some other things the defense was saying to put a cap on that, Russ?
You know, they really hammered in the fact that she was not helpless, that we talked about, and then finally they basically said, hey, this is trial by media, because this did get a lot of attention locally, and they basically said, hey, you know, Judge, you're swayed by everyone online socially saying I'm a cold-hearted killer,
right?
And his appearance and his testimony and everything really kind of belayed that characterization. Like, he seemed anguished, he seemed generally sorry that
Yeah.
this had happened.
I think he apologized repeatedly. Right. It's really sad. So that was essentially what he was saying. Now, a couple of other notes that we haven't talked about yet. This I found interesting. So, Russ, the prosecution elicited testimony from a key witness. They actually called to the stand one of this guy's prior girlfriends, who testified essentially that he did the exact same thing to her on the exact same mountain just 2 years earlier.
Yeah.
A former girlfriend testified in this trial that Thomas took her up Grossglockner and left her and abandoned her near the summit, and she said, that was the last time I ever went climbing with him.
Yeah.
And that was the end of that.
I mean, he left her when her head torch ran out.
Right.
And first of all, I don't know how you could wear a torch on your head. Like,
Right.
that just seems so hot.
Oh,
It'd
yeah.
be dripping stuff on
It's going to catch
in your
gasoline.
eyes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, you're like, your head's on fire. How is that safe? I mean, I'm walking away from someone if their head's on fire too. No, we're joking. We know that those Europeans call flashlight torches. So that's what we're doing it, because we keep seeing this torch.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, but that was some damning testimony.
It was
from
damning.
The ex-girlfriend. I mean, geez.
I mean, it's damning, but as a defense, you say, hey, it worked out great last time.
She made it. She survived.
I went and got help, and she survived.
Yeah, she survived so that she could testify in court about me one day.
And bury me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
so,
last nail in my coffin.
so let's talk. Do you have another point?
One more quick point.
Yeah.
We mentioned that this is a trial to a court, so
Right.
it's a trial to a judge. The judge actually mentioned in his ruling, which we're going to talk about,
Yeah.
that this judge is a mountaineer. He's an experienced mountaineer. He's someone who has a background in mountaineering, and he disclosed that, and he also said, I don't really think that should have a bearing on my consideration of the case.
Yeah, he went out of his way to say that does not have a bearing. I'm not taking my experience into consideration, which I don't know how you don't take your experience.
In this particular
Right.
case especially.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, we're probably going to talk about this, but are they applying a heightened duty of care to this man that they shouldn't be doing?
Right.
Put a pin in that. We'll come back to it later, because that's what is really what Russ and I wanted to talk about.
Right.
But Russ, why don't we talk about, this happened in a day. Should we get to the outcome and talk about what happened?
Happened in a day on the 19th of February of this year, so last week. That was the trial. The next day, the judge issued the finding, which is guilty of gross negligent manslaughter.
So he was convicted.
He was convicted. So the statute in Austria says, whoever negligently causes the death of another person, and that's punishable by up to 1 year in jail. If it's gross negligence, so that's something that is conduct that is exceptionally serious, that ups it to that 3-year standard that he was exposed to on this case. Now, I couldn't find the Austrian definition of gross negligence. In Colorado, and this is going to be similar to really most states in the U.S., the negligence definition applies when a person acts with a gross deviation from the standard of care that a reasonable person would exercise, and he fails to perceive a substantial and unjustified risk that a result will occur. So it's a reasonable person standard here. So would a reasonable person think that we have to turn back at this point or we're done for? Right?
And, just to comment on the reasonable person standard, that is the pretty much universal standard from the English common law that Americans have adopted in our set of laws. We look at things both in civil cases and criminal cases from the standpoint of what would a reasonable person do. And, Russ, I guess that's what I want to talk about, because in this particular case, what this judge seems to be doing, and the issue that I have with this case, frankly, is they seem to be saying, well, a reasonable person might have done this. You weren't a reasonable person.
Right.
You were an extra reasonable person.
Right.
You were an experienced mountaineer,
Right.
and you had this expertise that a reasonable person might not have, so you essentially became responsible for this person who
Right.
might not be able to make decisions normally.
Right.
The reason I have an issue with this is because it does just that. I think it creates a false legal standard.
Right.
It creates a height. And first of all, how do you cap the experience? Like, how do you decide whether a person is experienced or not?
It's not quantifiable.
It's
right?
not quantifiable. Like, if you've climbed one mountain, are we going to say, okay, you know
No,
what you're
three.
doing now?
It's got to be 3.
No, okay, no. You have to do Himalayan mountain in
Right.
order to.
What
qualify.
if it's a 9,000 foot?
Do you see
right?
the problem that we're talking about here?
It's a problem.
Like, we're weighing into, like, what should this guy legally be responsible for? But at the same time, we're wanting to say, oh, he should have had expert care. I think the fundamental problem I have is he was not her paid guide.
Right.
He was not her outfitter. He was not someone that she forked over $3,000 to and said, hey, I
Take
want
care
you to,
of me.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm
Right.
completely inexperienced. I need gear. I need food.
Right.
I need shelter. I need clothing. These people were in this together. They planned it together. They ventured out together. And I'm sorry, when you're talking about a high altitude expedition like this, bad things can happen.
Now, I will tell you, the judge did at least take some of that into consideration with his sentence. So we talked about he's convicted and up to 3 years. The sentence the judge imposed was 5 months jail suspended,
Right.
so no jail,
No jail time.
and a $9,500 euro fine, which I think is like $2 million.
I think that's carry the 8.
Right.
I think it's 4, but yeah, it's up there.
It's
a lot of
actually
loot.
I looked it up. It's
I'm gonna guess 17 grand, 18 grand.
less. It's about 11,000.
Okay, 11 large.
So it'll change.
We were doing this the last 11,000 Benjamins. No,
it's not right.
1,100 Benjamins.
Right.
And we don't know what Austria would call that. Who knows?
Right.
It's not terrible. But yeah, so it's not like he's going to prison for years and years on this. We're
Right.
acknowledging that.
Right.
But Russ, I'm still. This is not sitting well with me.
Well, so here's why I think it's not sitting well with me either. And I think the question is, like, does this set a bad precedent? Well, first of all, one question is, are we just basically holding the survivor responsible? Like,
Yeah.
is this
A
something
scapegoat.
where, whoever lives, if someone dies, whoever lives, well, you're guilty.
Right.
I mean, just look at Mount Everest. Do you know, Colin, how many people on average die on Mount Everest every year?
I don't know.
3 to 5.
Okay.
Every single year, 3 to 5
I actually would have
climbers.
thought it was higher.
Yeah, I mean, there's over 300 people. I think the total number is around like 350 or something.
Okay.
But every year, on average, 3 to 5 people die trying to climb Mount Everest.
Okay.
Now that, Colin, that is with professional outfitters,
Right.
professional guides.
Companies, people pay 50 to 100 grand.
Yes,
to
to
climb
make
that
the
mountain.
attempt.
Right.
Right.
And presumably have no prior mountaineering experience.
And I know we were talking about this earlier, and we were looking like, I don't know of any times when anyone's been charged criminally for that, even when you're talking about professional paid guides.
Yeah, I looked this up. It's never happened. So in the history of climbing Mount Everest, no Sherpa or guide has ever been found criminally responsible for one of their charges dying on the mountain. And I think the reason that's significant when we're talking about this particular case is, okay, the issue that I have with this case is, again, I think it kind of manufactures a heightened duty of care and in my opinion, incorrectly places it on this guy, saying, "Oh, he should have known way better than we think." Well, even if you're climbing Mount Everest with a paid guide, people understand. Well, you know what? At some point, we have to say that this activity is just so inherently dangerous,
It's dangerous.
that if you're signing up for this, this actually could mean you could die.
Right.
There's likely. It could be likely that you will suffer serious bodily injury or death if you do that. And Russ, I not only think of mountain climbing, but I think of skydiving.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think of bungee jumping.
Yeah.
Like, we don't throw people in jail for this.
Not yet.
And yet we did here. And so I ask you,
Right.
Is this going to be a precedent-setting event? Are we going to start throwing people in the can for this?
I mean, first of all, it's Austria, right? So it's not the U.S. So, like, legally, this is no real precedent. There's no legal precedent from a case in Austria at all. You can't even cite it in American courts. But obviously, prosecutors can look and say, well, they got a conviction. They got a conviction on this situation. So, hey, should we try to do this, right? Should we now try to hold, because, you know, to your point, it's easier to hold someone responsible if they're actually a paid guide, if a professional guide, someone who we know has that duty. Like this is just a guy who likes to climb mountains who's found guilty, right? So, and I will say he has a chance to appeal. And so there could be an appeal here.
Right.
So this might not be a final judgment.
Yeah, this does seem, though, to be kind of following a trend where, you know, people who were not directly responsible for a person's death end up getting charged. It's nothing quite like this, but we've talked about the Jennifer Crumbly case. We've talked about the parents of mass shooters, what liability they might have. I mean, you know, are they attenuated or could they be exposed? And I don't know. I think that's just kind of what we're seeing. And I'm just saying, hey, pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, maybe slow your roll.
Slow your roll a little bit. Yeah. Let's not throw every mountain climber in jail.
Or I mean, think of like people die. Just you're climbing a mountain, in you go.
What's the world coming to?
Right. No, but like the skydiving example is interesting because people die every year skydiving. Right. You can't get an insurance policy if
you're a professional skydiver.
Yeah. Or even if you're a recreational skydiver. Like that's one of the questions they ask.
You know.
So then if someone dies skydiving, let's say, you know, big gust of wind comes. Well, should the outfitter have looked closer at the weather, gotten a better weather report, and not allowed the person to be in the situation where their chute got tangled? You know?
Now, again, should there be some responsibility on these folks? Sure, that's what the civil courts are talking about. And I'm not necessarily saying that these people should be immune from civil liability. Like, if this was a wrongful death suit instead of a criminal case, I don't think I'd be as upset as I am. I think the fact that we're talking about this because it is a criminal case. They've decided to associate criminal behavior with criminal sanctions to this behavior, and I just don't think it should warrant that level of scrutiny.
You know, one thing I didn't look at, and I should have, to see what their standard is, because in the U.S., you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So
for a criminal case.
For a criminal case, so significantly higher. For a civil case, it's 51%, right? Presumption.
Easier to win a civil case. It's easier to sue somebody and recover than it is for the state to charge someone with a crime and meet that beyond a reasonable doubt.
Exactly. So maybe in Austria, it's a lower standard.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. But it's something where this one, I think I'm with you. He made some mistakes, but I don't know that he should be exposed to 3 years of jail for going on a mountain climb and, by all accounts, doing everything that he thought he should be doing to try to.
Sometimes accidents happen.
Right.
That's I guess that's. And that doesn't necessarily mean that a person has to receive blame for it. That's my take. But
well, if you guys differ,
this is definitely one where reasonable minds can disagree. And honestly, I think that I'm a little disappointed, just as an American, that this didn't go to a jury trial, because this seems to be the exact type of case that should be litigated by a jury. Yeah. Because I think reasonable minds really can disagree on this one.
Right.
You know, I'm acknowledging that I do think it's kind of a tough one, but yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah, it's rough. Interesting though, and we wanted to talk about it.
And I will say, I'm glad that the judge took those things into consideration and you know, didn't give him jail.
Specifically mentioned that he found him to be remorseful, and specifically mentioned, look, you've lost someone that was very, very close to you, and we know that there's punishment in that right there.
Right.
So, all right. Well, Russ, what do you think?
Yeah, let's get on to something a little lighter, a little dumber. Let's proceed to our dumb criminal of the week.
It would be weird if we didn't at this point.
Yes.
So it is time for
DCOTW.
The dumb criminal of the week.
Colin and listeners and viewers, today we are heading to the west side of Chicago,
Okay.
Windy City, and to a young man named Ruben Zarate.
Is that made up or is that his real name?
That's his real name.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his real name.
It sounds made up.
It does, but it's not.
good.
It's Ruben Zarate.
I like it.
Yeah,
Ruben.
yeah, Ruben. Yeah. So Ruben decided one day in Chicago that he was gonna go out and rob a muffler shop that was close to his house.
Okay.
It was called Mufflers for Less, Colin. So I mean, I would have.
Mufflers for More didn't work out.
Right.
That place went out of business.
If I was gonna rob a muffler place, I'd rob like expensive mufflers, right? Like I want some money. I don't want peanuts here.
Where can I find those Dubai gold-plated mufflers?
Right, exactly.
Where are those things? Yeah.
So he goes to Mufflers for Less, gun in hand,
Oh,
and
just right there in hand.
right there in hand demands the cash.
Okay. All right.
The employee says, unfortunately, the cash is in the safe, and none of us have access to the safe. Only the manager has access to the safe, and the manager doesn't come in for like 2 hours.
Okay.
So
It's a problem.
yeah, so it's a
Little
problem.
snag.
But Ruben Colin was not bothered at all.
He was resourceful.
This is just a hiccup. He's not going to let this ruin his heist. So he says, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to leave my cell phone number. You give me a call once the manager gets in and can open that safe, and I'll be right back over for that money. So he leaves his cell phone number, and he leaves. And predictably, the employee calls the police.
Yeah.
And so they have a plainclothes officer right there, and then they call him back, and they say, hey, manager's here. Come on back, Ruben. Your money, he can get the money. And so Ruben comes back with a gun.
And the manager's there. Only it's not a manager.
Right. Points the gun at the officer. The officer says, hey, I'm actually a police officer. Put the gun down. You're under arrest. Ruben does not put the gun down, so the cop shoots him in the leg. And takes him into custody and charges him with 3 counts of attempted robbery and 1 count of attempted or aggravated assault on a police officer.
Yep, there
for
it is.
Pointing the gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Colin, Ruben, he really dialed up the wrong heist.
Well, Russ, once he got to prison, he was able to take his phone and take a selfie. But something tells me if you call that number again, it's going to be disconnected. Oh man,
Colin, his number was just up.
Yeah, Russ, that rings a bell.
You should have let his fingers do the walking. There's a million of them.
Oh boy, man. Okay, that's way stupid.
That's way stupid. Like that one.
5.
I think this is the first time, Colin. I'm gonna give him a 6.
Yeah.
Scale of 1 to 5. Ruben, you're my first 6.
Yep. I'm not going to be so harsh, Russ, but I think 11 is definitely the highest score anybody can ever get.
11
so
out
I
of
don't
10.
even need to go higher.
You don't need to.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
He wins. He wins
Ruben,
the gold medal.
You are a moron.
Yeah. So good one, Russ. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to call that a podcast. We got some good stuff cooking up, though. So we've received some emails and communications from a lot of you saying, hey, have you checked this out? Have you checked that out? Guess what? We've checked them all out. And we've got some stuff on the horizon.
Yeah.
Corey Richins, remember the fentanyl sandwich case? Oh, yeah.
It's in trial.
That just started trial this week, so we might be talking about that soon. So we'll be, if it's true crime, we've got you covered. Anything else, Russ?
If it's true crime, we're on time.
Unless we're late.
Unless we're late.
And that you'll just have to wait longer.
So check us out. Give us thumbs up. Give us 5 stars if you can.
To contact us, you can email us directly, denvercrimelaw, all one word, @gmail.com. You can go to our on your podcast place where you get your podcast on your phone.
We're on all the platforms.
Yeah, you just send us a text. You can communicate with us directly. So please do so. And until next time, we'll see you right back here on Is This Legal?
Bye-bye, everyone.